Welcome to the Making Moves with Mao podcast. In every episode, you'll hear stories from individuals just like you that are trying to make an impact. They'll share their unique journey and some helpful tips that got them to where they are now. You'll hear conversations with people from all walks of life who are trying to make some moves. Now, here's your host, Mao.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Making Moves with Mao. I'm excited today because I've got Ricardo Rodriguez here. He is one hell of an entrepreneur, and lately he's been focusing a lot on Spark Media, which is the newest venture. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that, share some of that experience, and go through your journey, man. So thank you for taking the time today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we kind of go way back now. We've known each other, 5 years at this point?
It's funny, I think
5 years?
I just got the notification on Facebook when the first brunch went to Cobblestone.
Dude, it's crazy, man.
4 years ago.
What a ride. What a journey. But let's talk about you, man. I know, because you have, I've heard your story before, and your story of like kind of where you got to where you got is pretty unique, man. And I would definitely say there's a lot of ups and downs through that journey. But I'm excited to kind of dive into that, man. So start from the top, or from wherever you want to kind of get started on how you got your entrepreneur journey going.
It's funny because like you've seen that meme that like, right, it's like how you think entrepreneurship is gonna go, and on the left side it's
right,
like
it's like
the
a
line
straight
like
line.
that,
Yeah.
and then the other one is like how it actually goes, and it's like a bunch of lines
Circles
up and downs.
Yeah,
So I feel like it's been kind of like that. But I guess if you could say entrepreneurship or just the business in general, could go back to the real estate. Started like around 2012. I'll keep it brief because it could get kind of wild.
Yeah.
Started in real estate, doing like wholesale deals and investing.
Okay.
Around 2012.
And for people that don't know what wholesaling is, can you just briefly share like what that means?
You're not an agent, but you're putting a property in their contract.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I guess our first deal, we got a property in their contract from a for sale by owner for around, it was $29,000. We marketed to an investor who bought it for 36, and then we made the difference.
You made the difference, the split, yeah.
I think you have to be licensed now to do wholesaling, if I remember
rules
correctly.
have changed, yeah. In Illinois,
Rules have changed a little bit.
Two or more wholesale deals, you have to have a license.
Back then, you could do as many as you want. That was the first deal. Then moved into rentals, more wholesale deals. Then started doing flipping. Did quite a few flips. Some went well, some not so much. It's
a learning lesson.
A lot of people want to get into flipping, and it's because they see that it's easy, like on HGTV, all those programs and shows on Netflix and stuff. Oh yeah, you buy a house, you rehab it, you sell it, you make a ton of money. But it's one of those businesses that almost everything has to go according to plan, like almost 100%.
There's so many like moving parts.
There's so many variables that one little thing could be the difference between making money, breaking even, or losing you're losing your shirt.
Damn.
So did the flipping for a while. Then that kind of didn't go anywhere. Then I think around that time we started the brokerage. Cobblestone, which the idea was to kind of pair it with the investing and the construction side. Because, what the biggest thing for investing is finding good deals, right? So the idea was to bring in agents that would find the deals for us. If they were a good deal, the investing company would buy it. If they weren't, and it was more of a retail deal, then the agent would list it. So it was a good strategy, and in hindsight, it might have worked.
Yeah, it was a good concept.
I think it was a really good concept. I think for many reasons it didn't work, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So that happened, then we started talking about Spark Media around like the beginning of 2020. And it's something
this was
that
right before the pandemic too, man.
Like 2 months before the pandemic. Yeah. And I had been into, photography for a while. And it's something that I had always talked about. Like, I got my first camera when I was 15. I've been taking pictures since. And I kind of wanted to do like photography as a business, but I didn't want to mix something that I really like with a business.
Right.
Because I was kind of scared that it would ruin it. Like it would ruin the fun of taking pictures.
Right. You'd lose the spark of what interested you in the first place.
Because I take pictures, whether digital film, I got, film cameras from like the 1960s. It's like, they're like bricks. There's like films that I've never developed, pictures that I never even look at.
Super old school, man.
The fun that's just taking pictures and having it there. And I kind of didn't want to mix the two, but we started talking about how the real estate media would kind of pair well with the brokerage. And it did for a while, but then it kind of blew up.
Yeah.
You know? I think our first year, which was 2020. And the funny thing is that like the pandemic hit and I was like, shit, like, you know, just started the business is gonna fail already.
Right.
Because
there were so many like
everything froze. Nobody
so
knew
much
what
uncertainty.
To do.
Like
it was
from the
crazy.
real estate side, like deals were getting canceled. Like, you know, as soon as the lockdown happened, I think I lost like 3 or 4 deals just because buyers were getting scared. They're like, I don't know if I'm going to lose my job. I don't know if
I closed
I
the
can
deal
afford the deal.
literally the day that the lockdown went down. Like that's when the closing was.
That's insane, dude. Yeah. So like
Like,
there
I
was a
went-
lot of uncertainty.
I
On that.
went downtown and it was like the closing was downtown and the streets was, I think I have some pictures. It was just completely empty. It was crazy.
Wow.
But it actually ended up turning like it was a good opportunity because people still needed to sell. Rates were low, but people needed a way to see the property without going to the property because of COVID. So
Right.
things like virtual tours, photos, floor plans, videos, it actually became even more necessary for an agent to do.
I think it became like a requirement.
Like it's almost a requirement.
Yeah,
Like I feel like now the minimum that an agent should do is photos in the floor plan. Like that's like, I mean, we call it our essentials package for a reason.
Right.
Like, photos in the floor plan, and that's the minimum that an
Right.
agent should be doing, like the bare minimum. But anyway, that actually turned out to be pretty good. I think first year there maybe like around 100 and some listings. Second
not bad.
year it was like 350.
Damn, so nearly doubled.
And I think this year is going to be around 700 for the year.
Wow.
So it's pretty much doubled every year.
That's good growth.
You know, as it gets, more people get to know about it. I actually don't do a lot of marketing. Most of
Word
it is
spreading.
just like word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because photography and real estate is like okay, so say you're a portrait photographer or a wedding photographer. The only people that know that you're the photographer are the people that went to the wedding.
Exactly.
Right? For a real estate photographer is the one photography business that you take the pictures and then the agent puts it out there, and literally every other potential client of yours sees the pictures because other agents are looking at the pictures, right?
That's true. Yeah.
A lot of our clients come from, you know, hey, who took your pictures? And then
Right.
agents refer Spark Media.
Yeah, it's that what is it, the invisible hand, right? Where like, you know, it's kind of raising the standard for all for everyone doing business, like selling real estate. Like the standard I think now should be like professional photography. Like if you still have cell phone photos, if you're taking pictures on your own, you're doing a disservice to your client and to the property itself.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time a few weeks ago that I actually forgot my entire gear in my other car.
No way.
So I show up. I show up to this listing and I go to the trunk to see, you know, to get my camera out, and I'm like, and there was nothing there.
Oh, dude.
So I ended up taking it with my iPhone. You know, the iPhone.
Well, I mean, somebody that knows how to.
The 13 Pro
Yeah,
Max
yeah,
is pretty good.
Yeah.
I took him in raw mode, and we were able to edit me. You can't even tell the difference. But that's because, you know, keeping vertical straight, making sure that the photo is like framed correctly,
Right,
and it
right.
shows.
There's a
what it's
lot that
supposed
goes
to
into
show.
actually putting a good, well placed photo, and then the editing.
Yeah.
The editing is another
It's
big.
the composition that makes the biggest difference,
Yeah.
because anybody could just take a picture of a room, but like
Right.
there's things that you got to think about: how the light is hitting the room, how you're connecting one picture to the next. The walkthrough of the house through the photos has to make sense.
Right.
And that's why I tell people to at least get a floor plan, because sometimes we can only do so much
Right.
with the
right.
pictures and trying to give people a sense of what the atmosphere and what the layout of the house is like. But floor plans obviously do that better because you get an actual layout of the house.
The floor plans have measurements too, or no? Yeah. So gives them at least an idea of like room sizes as well.
Yeah, and a lot of
layout.
agents get it because, you know, most of the houses are vacant and they don't want to go out and measure the rooms, and maybe it hasn't been listed before, so
Yeah,
that information is not in the MLS. So they get the dimensions of the floor plans. So,
That makes sense.
yeah,
Nice,
and
man.
it's been pretty good growth. This is probably the most fun I've had in a while. I'm actually enjoying what I do. Not that I wasn't enjoying the flipping, but it's just so fucking stressful.
I mean, there's so many moving
Like,
parts, dude.
It's
Like,
just one of those businesses that, like, you know, like I was saying, if one thing goes wrong, whether you bought it for too much,
right.
whether the money that you bought is a really high interest rate, and maybe you thought it was going to take you 6 months to finish it, but it takes you 12.
Maybe the contractors,
the
flaked
contractors screwed you.
or screwing you over.
In the time that you bought it, rehabbed it, and put it on the market might have
Market
turned.
changed. Yeah.
You know, those people that bought it at the beginning or the end of last year, now they started listing around this time for a flip. The interest went from 3 or whatever, 3 something to like 7.
7 almost, yeah.
So there are a lot of things, a lot of factors that
external factors that come out of your control. You can't control
it, right? Like when the pandemic happened, prices for wood, prices for siding, you know, prices for so many things went
up. Yeah.
You might have thought that your budget was $200,000 and now it's 300, and the 100 was going to be a lot of your profit, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a very stressful business, and I'm kind of glad that I moved away from it. Some part of it was by choice. Another one wasn't by choice. Just the wrong partners at the time. But this is probably the most fun I've had in a while doing what I'm doing, and I really like it.
That's awesome.
To the point where I don't even know if I want to renew my license now.
Yeah, right. Now it's like strictly focusing on the photography side. But I mean, fun. That's awesome, man. And just seeing that growth is pretty amazing. And you mentioned, I think, you know, one of the things that I always like to discuss is, you know, the client acquisition and the marketing side. And you mentioned, obviously, a big part of the growth has been through word of mouth.
Yeah, referrals. People
seeing your work, you know, your work being out there, and then other people recommending you that have used you already, right?
You have to, obviously, in order for that to happen, you have to deliver a good product.
Right.
You have to be friendly. You have to turn work around on time. Make sure that everything looks good. There's no issues. Like making everything a seamless transaction, right? So for us, everything is done on our client portal.
Right.
People can go to our website, schedule a shoot. It asks you for the address. Then you get to pick all the services you want, all the add-ons. You confirm. We get the order. Whether the agent's gonna meet us there, or they're just gonna give us a lockbox code or a 1-day code for a Sentry lock. We go. Everything is turned around by the next day. Typically, if it's if we're not doing photo, video, Twilights, Matterport, all those things, but photos, videos, and pretty much everything is turned around within 24 hours of the shoot. And once everything is done, people get an email saying it's ready. They go online, look at the proofs, pay, and it's such a seamless process.
Right.
Instead of because I thought about it at the beginning, right? Like, do I set up a Dropbox link and then I send them like an invoice through like QuickBooks?
Right.
And there's like a lot of things that you can do that is very manual, but I wanted to make sure that everything was as seamless, not as stressful as, very easy for agents, even the ones that are not used to.
So all just kind of more automation, right?
It's very automated. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I think people like to refer us, because everything is super simple. Try to make everything as easy as possible for the agent. Because I know it's a big part of the marketing, but it's also really just a very small part of the entire deal.
Yeah. I think it's the most important part to get started, right? Because you can't list the property without photos, right?
Right, but it's one part of the entire transaction.
Yeah, it's just one part.
That transaction can last 2, 3, 5, 6 months.
Right.
So we just want to make sure that the one thing that you need to market the property is easy to do. You're happy with the results. If you're not happy with an editing, maybe a picture here and there, we can re-edit it for you.
Right.
We go back and reshoot it. Not a problem. I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible.
So basically meeting or exceeding their expectations, right? That's kind of the common goal there. Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Have you had any, you mentioned your story about forgetting equipment and having to improvise kind of last minute, which worked out, but have you had any other kind of bad situations where things didn't go the way they should have in a shoot, or maybe client expectations weren't set correctly or something like that? Like how would you handle a situation like that?
No, so like for most of our shoots, there's some agents that I've been working with for so long.
Yeah.
I know what they want, right?
Okay.
I know like there's these people that we work with that they want more of architectural shot, not so like wide and showing the entire room, but like a lot of like one point perspectives, a lot of like really close up shots of like the details of the house.
Okay.
But when there's a new client, I call them before the shoot happens, and I ask them like, what do you like? In this house, there's any features that you want to highlight? Like what should we focus on? That sort of thing, to try to get an idea of what we should do on the shoot. And that's helped a lot as far as having difficult clients. There's times so video is really hard, right? Because everybody wants their video to be different.
Right.
Right. Like some people want a more fast paced, a lot of transitions and speed ramps and things like that.
Yeah.
Some agents want more of a classical, very slow, a lot of like panning
Cinematic
shots. So we have had those, but we just re-edit them, you know, as part of the package. So that's not usually an issue. I think a lot of the bigger issues usually come down to weather.
Oh yeah, that's something you obviously can't control.
So like I can't do anything about that.
So like rescheduling because
so we just reschedule.
Yeah.
Sometimes if we schedule, then in the morning I see that there's gonna be. I check the radar and check, see if there's gonna be rain by the property. I just call the agent and be like, hey, we can do the interiors today and maybe do the exteriors another time. Or if you don't need to list it right away, we can do it tomorrow because tomorrow is gonna be sunny.
Right.
So things like that. In the summer is fine. It doesn't really rain that much.
Right.
Now it's kind of the winter is like the one time that
So accommodating
like
to their availability and obviously weather permitting and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or if I look at the house and it's south facing, and then we make sure that we take the picture at the right time of the day.
Right.
Or if it's north facing, make sure that the sun is not directly right behind the house. Different things to kind of make sure that the house looks its best.
The way it should, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, but it's been pretty good so far.
Nice, man. Kind of backtracking slightly in regards to how you started this this venture, right? I think it was like a course, right? Or like, how did you pack everything together and say like, this is how I want to set this business up? How did that kind of go about?
At the beginning, it was kind of
just doing more research.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Then I think you brought up there was this like real estate photography course, and then I think we bought it, and we took a lot from it. Not everything, because some things just didn't make sense. Right. But it definitely helped with the structure. And that's kind of something that I would advise to people if there's, a venture that you want to get into. Like, there's people out there that have done it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
There's people out there that have done it. You don't have to make all the mistakes on your own and learn from all your, you don't have to take 2 years to learn everything.
Right. You're not reinventing the wheel here. Like it's been done before. You could
just buy a course for a few $100,
right,
and take all those lessons that took somebody 2-3 years to learn and just condense it into 10 hours of video.
You're shortening your learning curve.
Yeah.
You're saving yourself time.
Easier.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many websites. There are so many things that you could be doing differently that you don't know about.
Right.
That somebody else could advise you to do.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about it all the time, man. YouTube University, right? Like so much, so much free content and just so many great lessons you can find on YouTube if you just really search properly.
Yeah, I mean, if there's
you can learn
any sort of industry, I'm sure there's somebody out there teaching it.
Yeah.
Anything that you can think of.
Yeah, that's so true, man. Now, obviously, you're in year 3 at this point, right? Year 3, going on to year 4.
Yeah.
There's been progressive growth year over year, which is amazing. What's kind of like the long-term plan? Do you see this like do you see this scaling to like maybe other cities and maybe like turning this into like a bigger empire type thing, or is your focus solely like local? Like what's your plan?
That's something I've definitely thought about. I mean, Milwaukee's so close, it's like an hour drive.
Yeah.
Northwest Indiana is pretty close. Michigan. So it's something that I've definitely thought about.
Because right now, what's like your boundary? I would say, like, how far are you willing or able to go?
Pretty much just Chicago and surrounding suburbs. I mean, I think the furthest I've gone is like Oswego.
Okay, so farther west.
Which is like
it's about 45 hour ish. Yeah.
But of course, if it's Springfield,
that's almost 2.5 hours. Right? That's
unless it's really worth it. I mean, I've done a shoot. I did this really cool Airbnb in Michigan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this company that we do Airbnbs for. They have a lot in Chicago. So it's they're really more of a management company.
Okay.
And they manage Airbnbs for themselves and other people that have clients that maybe have a unit that they want to Airbnb, but they don't really have the time or don't want to manage it. So they hire them to manage it. So one of their clients has like this like really cool cabin in the middle of nowhere near the lake in Michigan.
Nice.
So he mentioned it to me, and he was like, maybe we would send you out there. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but I'll do the pictures, but then I kind of negotiated full rate and a 3-day weekend for free.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I got to stay there with my girlfriend.
So you stayed at the Airbnb?
And,
oh, nice.
And a couple of friends.
Okay.
For a whole weekend, and then obviously we were out so I took pictures of the Airbnb, the beach nearby, got some aerial photos of the area, got some photos of the towns nearby, coffee shop, breweries, something that people would do while they go out there.
Yeah, highlights places for people to
visit.
So
it was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
But that's probably a one-off. If it's over 100 miles, I probably wouldn't go out there.
Right.
For a shoot.
And right now it's just you, right? You're the one that's kind of doing the most.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, Gio helps me with some shoots here and there. I have another guy that helps out too.
Okay.
But this mostly on the weekends and the evenings.
Right.
I like to spend time with my family on the
weekends.
Of course,
man. Yeah.
So I try not to work on weekends. If I can, obviously, sometimes agents, they need to list it by Monday. So we got to do it Saturday, get it to them on Sunday. So, I mean, I don't mind. The whole goal of owning a business is to kind of have control of your time.
Yeah, leveraging it as much as you can. Yeah, for sure.
Why would we be working 100 hours, 120 hours,
It
kind of defeats the purpose.
I mean, I think the most important thing is once you've set the foundation, obviously that's the most time consuming part is that's when you're really going to bust your ass and put in all the time that you need to make sure that everything's working in order. But once you have that machine rolling and then you can kind of delegate tasks and leverage your time.
It definitely makes things easier.
Yeah.
The editing, we have an editing team in Vietnam that takes care of all the editing for the photos. And we have a team here in Florida that does all the video.
Oh, nice. Okay. So they
So I don't spend 8 hours editing video anymore.
Yeah, dude. That's nice.
Just sent it. They're so much faster. It's so much better than me at it that I send the video and I get it by the next morning.
Wow.
Branded, unbranded, everything color graded, music, everything linked well.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps because there's a lot of photographers that do their own photos, but they also do their own editing, and editing is probably 70% of their time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So for me, I rather spend more time shooting and business developing than being behind the computer editing.
Right.
Because I make more money shooting and building relationships with agents,
right?
Than I do
sitting behind the computer and editing
doing a $15 an hour job, $1 an hour job. I'd rather pay somebody a lot less than that to do that for me, and then I get my time back.
That's true. That's true, and that's how you're able to scale and do more and more business in the long run. So,
and kind of to go back to your question about what the plan is. Obviously, I just hired a coach. So I'm working with him to kind of develop the next phase of the business.
No shit, nice.
I found this guy out in California that they do 800 shoots a month.
A month?
Which is fucking insane. Whoa. They have a team of 50 people.
That's insane, dude.
I don't know if I'll be there, in the next few years. Yeah. But 800 shoots a month is crazy. We're doing 700 a year this year, or however many we're gonna be. I think we're around 590 right now. So I'm kind of taking into account that next month is going to be slow because of Thanksgiving. Christmas is, 2 weeks out of the month of December, nobody does anything.
That's true.
So we'll probably be around there. So I just started working with him. He's been kind of helping me work on my mindset, do
the bigger picture
stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to focus more on things that make me money instead of things that don't. Is one of the things that he brought up to me was, so I do send everything out to edit, the outsourcing, but when I get it back, I still quality check everything. And a lot of the time I spent a lot of time doing quality check, fixing up lines, fixing up color, greening the grass and making sure that everything kind of looks the way that our look is supposed to be.
Right.
And that's something that he kind of yelled at me because I was spending 20 hours a week doing that.
Oh, that's a lot of time.
So, he got me to switch to, instead of me taking on the burden, put it on the editors and make it,
So give them the standards.
Record all the things that I do.
Right.
And if it's something repetitive, just give it to them for them to do before they send it to me.
Right.
Right. So those maybe reduce those 20 hours to 5 hours and spend those 5 hours doing consultations with agents, following up with past clients, asking for referrals, things that are gonna make me a lot more money than spending 15 hours in front of a computer.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I mean, consulting with an agent. I mean, there's some agents this year that have spent $12,000 with us.
That's insane.
You know, just in their marketing alone.
Right.
For the photos. So it's best to spend your time acquiring those people that are going to spend 10, 15, 20 grand on your business over the next few years.
Exactly.
Then, editing.
That's another outsourced leverage that you can create. So
yeah,
that's
awesome, for agents, for any business, there's tasks that are repetitive, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that he told me was look at your day-to-day, write the things that you do. If it's something that you do all the time and it's something simple that can be outsourced to a VA or somebody else, hire that task, pay them. I'm sure you can get VAs for very cheap.
Right. Yeah.
Or even hire an assistant. Somebody at your office, pay them. $20, $15 an hour, so you can focus on things that are going to make you 50, 100.
That's true. Right? Yeah.
So it's all about leveraging your time and focusing on the things that are going to make you money versus the things that are just time wasting.
Right. That's true. I think that's amazing advice. And kind of on that topic, right? So if somebody was to, consider starting either a photography business or getting into the entrepreneurial space, what is some of the advice that you would give someone that's just starting off?
For them to be ready for them to acknowledge or be aware of what it really takes to grow a business, whether it's flipping, photography, real estate, anything, because it takes a lot of time. And for me, I think my advice would be for people to look at what they want their life to be like in the future, like what the vision they have for their job. Like if you want to, if you rather come home from work, spend time with your family after work and spend time with them on the weekends, and that job allows you to do that, do that.
Right.
Right. But if you want to, if your goal is to maybe be financially free later, you have to be aware that it's going to take 80, 100 hours a week for years to do that. And are you okay with that affecting your life and your family for the next few years? It really depends on what people's goals are. Yeah. I think back about I think about it getting started in real estate, and it was just one of those things that things might have been easier if I stayed on my W-2, making 80, 90 grand a year. Yeah. And buying rentals.
It's another route. Yeah, it's a complete.
You're leveraging your W-2 job, which is easier to get loans that way. Right. Exactly. Build a rental portfolio with that, and then quit your job. But then you also have buildings that are making money every month. Right. And you're also building equity. So there's a lot of ways to go about it. I just think people should really think about what they want their life to look like and what they're willing to sacrifice before they decide to quit their job and jump into something.
And I think that's the key part, is the sacrifice that you ultimately have to make. That's a non-negotiable, right? Mm-hmm. For any venture, if you're going to go out and do it on your own, you have to know that there's sacrifice that's involved with it. It comes down to putting yourself in the right mindset for that.
When I first started doing real estate, I quit my job, and we're doing wholesale deals and flips, and flips don't make money for months, right? The life cycle of a deal is, it could be a year, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years. Rentals make money, but a lot of the time, you're breaking even or making $300, $400, $500 a month. Mm-hmm. So while we were doing real estate, I was doing Uber from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then I would work on the business from 10 to 5, and then do Uber from 7 to 10, 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, I would work in the morning from maybe 8 to 12, and then I would go to Uber from 12 to 2 a.m. on a Saturday. Yeah. And then I would do Uber on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Right. And that was every day for 2 years, just to make things work.
Yeah. You have to find a way to kind of, like you said, progress day in, day out. Man.
It was easier for me because I didn't have kids. I didn't have a girlfriend.
More time.
I had all the time that I needed in order for me to do that. But if I had a family, wife, kids, and a house, right, and that's different.
That's a whole different story. Yeah.
You probably shouldn't do that. you're not going to see your kids
grow up.
grow
Make sure
up.
that you have everything in order to make sure.
Right. That's, the choices that you make have, depend on what you, obviously, like I said, you want your life to look like and what you think is going to affect your family. It has to make sense. It has to be in line with what you want.
For sure, man. No, I agree with that 100%, man. I think people need to see that vision first before kind of making that decision, because
another thing is
it's a lot harder than people make it seem.
And maybe liking what you're actually trying to do.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part.
Like you could be making 150 grand a job, a year at a job, but it could be the shittiest job in the world. Yeah. You'll probably be happier making 80 and actually enjoying what you're doing.
True.
So it's really getting down to what you want your life to be, what you want, like what your vision for it is. Like that's really all it comes down to.
Yeah, figuring out what that looks like.
Like right now, like I used to think that like, because most like if you read like business books or like if you read like listen to podcasts and all this thing, everybody talks about waking up at 5 a.m.
The grind.
And doing all these things from 5 a.m. to midnight, sleeping 4 hours. I tried it. It didn't work for me.
That's not sustainable. I don't feel like that's not sustainable. Dude.
I wake up at 8, sometimes 10.
Yeah.
I don't set any appointments before 10 a.m. because I don't want to be stuck in traffic.
Right.
I work from 10 a.m. to 5, 7 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Making good money.
Finding the balance that you need while being able to turn a profit.
It's easier now because, I've built a client base.
Right.
But, before obviously it was harder. But once you get to that point, like you have to enjoy what you're doing or you're not going to do it for long. It has to make sense for you.
That's 100%. That's how people end up burning out.
And burnout is not fun. I've burned out before. And you feel like you don't want to do anything.
You feel like you just don't care. You're just like, yeah.
And then you just end up, abandoning the thing that you were so passionate about.
Right.
So finding that balance between your personal life and your business life it's key.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act. And it's not always perfect.
You work on daily. Like it's not.
It's never going to be 100% perfect. I mean, there's times I have to wake up at 6 to do a shoot at 7 because that's the only time that was available. Mm-hmm. But 80% of the time, my schedule is like I want it to be.
Right. That's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship, man, is you get to kind of create that balance yourself. But at the same time, you're the one that's got to hold yourself accountable to that balance, right? It's
those 7 hours have to be productive.
Yeah, correct, exactly.
If you're only working 5 hours a day, they have to be. You have to like
maximize those hours.
Of course. I always say that like parents or moms are like the best at time management. Like they get shit done.
They do, man.
But you know why they get shit done? Because they only have 20 minutes.
Because they have to, bro. They have no other choice, right?
Like you only have a certain amount of time when your kid's sleeping or doing something to get the things that you need to get done. Most people, they set an hour for something that's going to take them 20 minutes.
Right.
And 40 minutes of that time, they're fucking around on YouTube, Facebook, checking their TikTok, So just that focus, making sure that those hours that you set up to work, you're actually doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that 100%, man. So if somebody wanted to book your services or just learn more about Spark Media, like where's the best place that they can find you?
Obviously, our website, sparkmediachicago.com. We have samples of our photos. We have all our services on there. Pretty much anything that you would want to know is on there. Mm-hmm. And if people have a question, you could always text me. Text is the easiest way to, get a hold of me. I probably won't answer a call.
Right. Same.
So you could text me 312-451-4928. You can also find us on Instagram at Spark Media Shy. Same on Facebook.
Perfect, man. Awesome. Well, that was very, very informative, and I'm excited for the growth. Spark Media. I mean, it's still in its infancy stages, so there's a lot of potential and there's room for tremendous growth.
Trying to hit 1,000 shoots next year.
Yeah, I can see that happening, man. So, best of luck with everything, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode. See ya.